Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Scotty Shaw, and today is day 11 of 40 Days of K, and the word is crisis management. And actually, I haven't been able to focus on this one for some reason. I think maybe just I'm not sure if it's just my mindset today, or maybe I haven't gone through crisis management. I've gone through crises in life, but crisis management is a little different. I feel like it's probably just my mindset, just kind of worn down running HackCOVID. Still trying to finish judging for HackCOVID 2, Startup 3, um, and just in general trying to recruit people for the team, judges, participants, just a million things going on. And unfortunately, uh, delegation doesn't work well when you don't have enough personnel. um, which is why recruiting the team is so important. But the good thing is, had COVID. The main thing has been about starting off just the first 2 weeks was just getting results, getting people to sign up and join and do stuff, and now we're starting to transition out of the creation phase to the growth phase of saying, all right, we have some results now. Let's make everything look nice, improve the quality to really start pushing for growth. So maybe that's what's going on. And I think one of the main things is for crisis management. Um, I think maybe like I talked about yesterday, where stuff that should be hard for the average person intellectually, I just steamroll through it because I'm so smart. And then so I don't realize when there's crisis management in those areas of my life. But then other areas where there needs to be crisis management, I struggle a lot. And as a result, feel like I only had crisis, not management. So I think that might be another reason why I'm just kind of struggling with, do I have do I even understand crisis management? But I mean, it could be kind of like having good um, logistical support in the field. Good relationships. Um, when something happens to a group of friends, or if you have crisis management, you might not realize you already had a crisis. Because Coach K says, once you find yourself in that crisis moment, it may already be too late. If you have not developed your team properly, members of that team will not feel the sense of ownership your group needs in this type of moment. So maybe I'm also, on top of the two things I talked about just now, um, one being when in certain crises, I'm so smart, I get through it easily and don't realize that was crisis management in some way. And then the stuff where I struggle, it falls apart, turns into a crisis, straight up, no management. And so I feel like I've never had crisis management. But then maybe where I've had crisis management outside of, the stuff where I could just on the spot intellectually come up with a solution, maybe those situations where I had crisis management was because um, I had developed my team properly, or I was on a team that had been developed properly. So we didn't even feel like there was a crisis. We just felt the sense of ownership and that step up. I mean, it's true though. Coach K says crises are not handled in the instant they occur, but are prepared for in all of the moments that you and your team spend leading up to that one. And he goes on to talk about you have to establish trusting relationships. I'm sure there's a lot of other things you can do running through scenarios. For example, I think the Leitner shot was called special, and they practiced that a lot. In fact, the game before they used it, they practiced it, and Grant Hill's pass went way out of bounds or something like that. And by the time that game happened, uh, see. If you plan to manage a crisis when the time comes, it is already too late to establish the communication trust that should already exist among the members of your team that practiced special before. And in fact, crisis management in action is talking about that story. The backstory for Kentucky, this particular team in 92, for the Elite Eight. Kentucky had been on probation for cheating, I believe. And this team for Kentucky, they're called the Unforgettables because coming off of all that stuff, there were kids who had committed to Kentucky and stayed on when they could have left. Kids who had no business going anywhere to play ball, but they had grown together as a team. Then you had Jamal Mashburn, who was described as his muscles have muscles. So I guess in a sense, if you kind of think of an early '90s Zion, that's probably probably kind of close to what what Jamal Mashburn looked like and played like. And the winner would go to the Final Four. Duke to repeat, Kentucky to redeem. And what happened was 2.1 seconds left on the clock. Duke was down 1. I think, I forgot the Kentucky player's name, but he put up a runner and slashed into the lane, put up a runner. They were up 103, 102. And so the issue is now Duke has to inbound from Kentucky side of the court to the Duke side, 94 feet. So what Coach K did was, by this time they had run special before, the day before it didn't work out. And, Duke has, or any good team, they're going to have contingencies for every situation conceivable. And in fact, that's why I still firmly believe that in 2010, Coach K telling Brian Zubek to miss the second free throw when we're up 61-59 was the better decision, because the momentum was starting to shift towards Butler's situation, or Butler's favor, foul trouble and all that. Well, in overtime, we had a higher chance of losing. So if Brian Zubek made the free throw 62-59, then Butler has set plays where they could, they would have a higher chance of hitting a three, going to overtime, and beating us then. Coach K's gamble was Brian missed the free throw, so it's a scramble. Who gets the rebound? No one knows. And if Butler gets it, well, they don't have a set play for we got the ball after a scramble.
Butler has no timeouts.
So they would hope that Zubek makes this.
Not going to try. It's Hayward pulling it down, getting around Zubek. At midcourt, launches the shot. Oh, it almost went in! Almost went in, and Duke is the king of the dance, 2010.
And we all know Gordon Hayward, heaved it, missed the shot. And he's often said that that's not the shot he thinks about. The shot he thinks about is before Brian Zubek went to the free throw line. He took a fadeaway over Brian Zubek that was just a bit long, because that's the stuff he's practiced. And you can just see, Coach K was talking about, what would they have practiced? What have we practiced? What has Butler practiced? And in this case, for 92 against Kentucky, Duke had practiced special, and they had messed up before, during practice the day before. So when it's time now, the team comes over, and I still remember Grant Hill has said before, he was already thinking, what beach do I want to visit for spring break, or something like that. And so, for Coach K, what he says here, as they came to the bench for that last timeout, I could see a look of defeat in their eyes. The first thing I said to them as they sat down in our huddle was, we are going to win. Whether they believed the seemingly ridiculous claim or not, it had the effect of immediately focusing everyone's attention on our collective goal instead of thinking about blame, regret, fear, or what beach they would be going to next week instead of the Final Four. Then Coach K looked Grant Hill in the eye, asked him, "Can you pass the ball 75 feet to Christian Laettner?" Grant Hill said yes. And that's one thing Coach K says. I get the people to say yes themselves because now they're already thinking about how to do it and succeeding, and then they say yes to reaffirm themselves. Then I turned to Christian, I then turned to Christian, looked him in the eye, and asked him if he could catch the ball and get a shot off in the very short 2.1 seconds that remained in the game. He said to me, "Coach, if Grant throws a good pass, I'll catch it." And I've always thought that was interesting. He doesn't just say yes. He says, if Grant throws a good pass, I'll catch it. It's a big deal that, they both said they would accomplish what they need to do. It's positive statements. And I think one big thing is I interpreted Christian Laettner's response as saying, "Oh, this all depends on Grant Hill, not me." But I think probably in context what he really meant was, I have faith that Grant Hill will make a good pass. Grant just said yes, and I believe in him. So when he does that, I'll catch the ball. And he wasn't saying, "I'll make the shot, I'll get the shot off." He was just saying, yeah, I trust Grant to get the pass off, or a good pass off. And Grant, don't worry, I'll catch it. And Christian Laettner obviously knew he was going to turn, shoot, and make it. In fact, he said, Coach K had said before in the moment, he was thinking, "Christian, why are you dribbling?" And Christian Laettner knew he had the time to get one dribble, to fake one direction, and then turn around and get the shot off. So I think that's what Christian Laettner really meant. Because, a lot of times we'll say, "Oh, yeah, if that happens," when what we mean is when that happens. But just colloquially, that's what we say. So I think that's what Christian Laettner really meant is, "Coach, when Grant throws a good pass, I'll catch it." But just colloquially, it came out as, "Coach, if Grant throws a good pass, I'll catch it." No mention of the shot because he already knew he was going to make it. It's just we connect on the pass. After that, it's on me, and of course I'm going to make it. Just this pass, two guys. Grant, when you throw that pass, I'll catch it. So, they basically express confidence in themselves and the team, and everything went perfectly. Shot went in.
There's the pass to Laettner. Puts it up. Yes!
Duke went on and repeated 9-2. So I think that's one of the big things. Crisis management. We know the story now. It's easy for me to say, "Oh, that was a crisis," and they managed it. And maybe that's what I was talking about. Maybe because they managed this so smoothly, even if they had lost. The fact is, it was just look the players in the eyes, tell them we're gonna win. Grant, can you throw a pass? Yes. Christian, can you catch it and make and get the shot off? Yeah. Throws a good pass, I'll catch it. And then whatever happens, happens. But maybe that's the point. Christian Laettner and Grant Hill, Coach K, they managed this so smoothly that it doesn't seem like you needed crisis management because there was no crisis. Although we know the story now, and it's very obvious with a scoreboard. You're in a crisis, and so maybe I'm more in tune with crisis management than I realized. I just couldn't think of anything because it's kind of like the absence of good logistical support in the field, or I guess when you have good support, you don't notice it. When you have bad support, then you notice it because it's like, well, I didn't get my food, I'm out of ammo, or good customer support. You don't realize it because you got what you wanted, and then when you don't get what you want and they're treated poorly, you start to notice it. Bad UI UX in tech. So maybe that's why I couldn't think of anything and felt like I wasn't connecting when maybe I'm actually better than I realized at crisis management. But I do think definitely I can think of specific moments For example, um, some moments with ex-girlfriends where definitely I um, didn't communicate well. Um, you know, I wasn't really recognizing their feelings or their mindset. Um, Sometimes with teammates in basketball, we're just not on the same page defensively or offensively. Other times, when I need help, but I'm not doing a good job of asking for help. Or sometimes my struggle is sometimes I don't recognize when I do need to get help, and even worse is I'm not good at recognizing when I need to take a break. Because I just grew up being I was always used to I just need to get stuff done, and not that I would say someone else is weak when they have mental health problems, but for myself, I tend to view it as that's not a mental health problem for me. I need to take a break because I'm burned out. I view it as I'm just being weak and inefficient, which I guess someone once said to me, I was being too hard on myself, and you know, after encouraging me and stuff, and I kind of realized, yeah, maybe that's what happens for other people. I'll come up with excuses for them, try to be like, oh no, I get it, it's all right. But then for myself, it's very merciless. It's literally, well, why didn't you get the result, Scotty? You got to do better. When maybe what I need is someone to say, hey, it's okay, you did great, you're doing great, just keep it up. So, um, definitely, I'm not the best at crisis management, but maybe I'm better than I realized. Um, I do think one indication that at least I'm probably not entirely that bad at crisis management is Coach K says crisis causes people to think and act as individuals rather than as part of a team. But I feel like generally I'm able to stay above that. A leader's goal during these times must be to refocus every individual's attention on the group, the entity that you have created, which is far stronger than each separate individual. And there are moments where I've been able to do that, so it's not like I just straight up don't understand crisis management. And the big thing really is finding unity, facing challenges with the same courage and confidence, um, having these trusting relationships, knowing we're in this together. And that reminds me of in Band of Brothers, Easy Company. Uh, their motto is Kurahi, and it comes from a Native American word, which I think it was pronounced Kauahi or something like that. But basically, in that language, it means we stand alone together. And it sounds confusing, but I think what it means is um, we as a group on our own, we're we're isolated. It's just us, but we stand together. Which in Bastogne, where they cut off the German advance in the Battle of the Bulge, or I guess they blunted it. They truly stood alone, but they stood together in that loneliness. And one scene from Band of Brothers is it's funny. Jimmy Fallon plays Second Lieutenant George Rice. I'm not sure why I remember this specifically, the details so specifically, but what happens is his character drives in with some ammo from a nearby dump and comes across Damian Lewis's character, who is now Captain Richard Winters, and or no, sorry, Major Richard Winters by now, and Lieutenant Rice is about to drive off, try to make a couple more ammo runs, and he turns before he drives off and says to Major Winters, um, the Germans are about to cut the road going south. Looks like you guys are going to be surrounded. And the reply was, We're paratroopers, Lieutenant. We're supposed to be surrounded.
I'll try to make another ammo run if I can, but don't count on anything. Thank you, sir. Take this, Captain. Panzer Division's about to cut the road south. Looks like you guys are gonna be surrounded.
We're paratroopers, Lieutenant. We're supposed to be surrounded.
The real Winters and the character, neither one meant it as shut up, get back to your job. I think what they were saying is, hey man, crisis will be averted because this is what we were trained for. This is specifically why we're being called in. We've always been trained to fight surrounded, to stand alone together, to stand alone cohesively. And we're getting into our element. So, we know the story. They held on through Christmas. Patton broke through with this Third Army, which, that's another crisis management, being able to pivot so quickly in the middle of this winter battle and turn northwards. I forgot how the distance, but in the Patton movie, you see, he drives.
Ike wants to know if anybody can get up there and relieve the 101st before they're torn to pieces.
I'm afraid there's nothing that Field Marshal Montgomery can do. At any rate, not for some weeks.
What about you, George?
I can attack with 3 divisions in 48 hours. Well, I'd give myself some leeway if I were you.
Ike wants a realistic estimate, George. You're in the middle of a fight now, and it's over 100 miles to Bastogne.
My staff's already working out the details.
A great crisis on the Western Front in World War II, because we still could have lost that, and there are instances of that being managed. Duke defeating Kentucky. And for me, I can think of some situations where I've been able to keep everyone focused on the team. So, we stood alone together. At least, we stood cohesively as a team. So, in any profession, a crisis presents a situation in which it is the leader's job to find a way to win. And for everyone, a crisis depends. Some people it's life or death, terminal illness, being sent to war. Coach K's case, just, we're down 1 with 2 seconds left, 2.1. But, it's really true. If you have a trusting team, business, family, a crisis is an opportunity to shine. And I didn't miss this part. It's just for me, I guess maybe the thing is like I said, I don't recognize some situations as a crisis that I managed. Because, HackCOVID, for example, I just saw it as a pivot. Here's an opportunity, seize the day, get it done. And I guess you could say that was a crisis management, maybe not so much on a team level, but at least, for me, redirecting our efforts, adapting it to operate online. But, I think the thing is, I'm also not done with HackCOVID, so maybe that's why I don't recognize this as crisis management yet, because, transitioning into a growth phase, there's still a lot of work to be done. But I think, this part is true. It's as though Coach K is writing this about me, to me. He's writing to me, telling me something that he knows. He's saying, as though he's saying to me, Scotty, that's what I'm going to tell you. And he says, you relish the predicament because it is a chance to prove to yourselves and to show others the strength you have developed as a unit during the course of your time together. A well-prepared team embraces crises as defining moments and overcomes those crises together as one. So, maybe I'm better at crisis management than I realize. Definitely not an expert, but I think that explains why I struggle to focus on this essay. Because this one's only 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Yeah, 4 pages, so it's not that long. But I think it definitely makes sense to me that possibly why I felt like I couldn't connect with this one. Felt like I was kind of just not getting the point. Maybe because right now I'm in the middle of managing a crisis, and so with HackCOVID, and it's a little harder for me to see that I'm in the process of managing a crisis, and therefore, because I interpret it as seizing an opportunity, I, you know, as a result, I don't realize that I am doing what Coach K is talking about. I relish the predicament. It's a chance to prove myself and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe I'm just not done with it, so I don't realize I'm doing crisis management in some way. Maybe I'm being too hard on myself in saying that I'm not doing crisis management because I recognize things that aren't going well. But the fact is, this series of videos that you guys are watching in 2069, this doesn't mean that I've succeeded. It's just my thoughts and stuff rereading this book. So I think hopefully everyone stays safe, staying healthy. It's April Fool's Day, but unfortunately the national emergency will last through the end of this month. That's just how things are. Let's see what happens. Hopefully crisis management at the national level and the global level goes much better than my individual and small scale efforts with my team. But added a team member today, hoping to talk to a couple others who I put feelers out to, add them to the team. A couple people that I highly trust, hopefully be able to whip this into shape enough to then say, hey, would you be able to help out, at least just monitor things for me, even if it's not actually doing things. Just kind of just see what's needed, get people to do stuff. So yeah, that's it for today. Day 11 for 40 days of K, and tomorrow, day 12, the word will be culture. It's another word that Coach K loves. Even among these 40 words, culture is a word that he definitely loves a lot, even among this 40. So talk about culture tomorrow.